Hi friends, Angelica here. I'm so excited to be joining the Greetery YouTube channel today. We are just days away from the new Christmas time holiday collection release, and I have a project to share of showcasing a few of the new products from the release. We're going to be doing some die cutting, stenciling, stamping. There's a lot to get through, so let's get started. We're going to start with the new Pine Wisp die. This die has 5 pieces, which you can layer together to make beautiful pine branches. Here's one of 2 panels that I die cut the wisp from. I used heavyweight white cardstock, and I'm going to ink them with finger daubers and Distress Oxide inks, starting with Rustic Wilderness. This is a lovely pine green that coordinates perfectly with ground espresso, the brown that I'll be using. I thought I would try out post-it notes as masks, but ended up using them more to protect my fingertips from the ink rather than for masks. The great thing about oxide inks is that you can layer them since they're so opaque. I do end up getting brown on the green and green on the brown, but I was able to cover up the mess going over the spots with the original ink color. Inking the needles with the green was not hard to do at all. I did all the needles first, so I only had to clean my silicone mat just one time before switching over to ground espresso. And this silicone mat, it has a really nice grip to it, so the paper, the die cuts, they don't move around much, which made this process even easier to do. Okay, so when it did come down to using the ground espresso ink, I did end up using the post-it notes as masks around the middle of the branches, trying to keep as much brown ink off the green ink as possible. I do go back over the needles with the green ink, cleaning up any brown ink smudges that I made. Now, knowing what I know now, when I make these pine branches again, I'll start with the brown ink. This is going to save time because I won't be going over the needles again, adding an extra layer of green ink to cover up my brown mess. Just starting with brown first eliminates that last step. To glue the branches together, I'm using Ranger Multimedia Matte, and I have a needlepoint tip on the on my bottle, which really helps with the precision of putting glue down, especially on these really narrow pieces on the stem. I'm using my reverse tweezers as my third hand. I always have my tweezers nearby. They're perfect to hold pieces together too, like I'm doing here with the large branch set. Every time I move on to a new branch set that I'm gluing together, I will just pinch those pieces of paper together with the reverse tweezers. I'm just going to finish this last branch, and then now we have 5 layered pine branches to work with. Now, since we're talking Christmas, I couldn't help but pull out some glitter and flock to really elevate these branches for holiday projects. I'm going to be using white fuzzy flock, Avriel coarse glitter, and then my all-time favorite, Tim Holtz Clear Rock Candy Distress glitter. This glitter is really subtle, but so stunning in person. I'm using Ranger Multimedia Matte again, just leaving random drops of glue on each needle. Sometimes I'm doing a small line of glue. Then I'm going to put the branch over printer paper that I've put a crease in, and I'm going to pour glitter over it. This first one is with the Rock Candy glitter, and with the crease in the printer paper, it's going to make it really easy for me to get that glitter back into the container. This next branch, I'm going to be adding the flock to. You're going to see how powdery this flock is. There's no sparkle to it whatsoever, so the finished look is really matte. Now, I usually will go over whatever I'm putting the flock on and just add a couple drops of glue once the flock has completely dried, and then pour some glitter on it too to make it sparkle. But you can see it just leaves really pretty small clumps, looks like snow, on the needles. Now, if you want to get really aggressive with your holiday sparkle, Avriel coarse glitter is definitely the way to go. This glitter is small iridescent circles and it catches the light fabulously. And this is a small jar, and I've had this jar going on 3 Christmas seasons now. I don't even think I've used half of it yet. A little bit does go a long way, and I use it a lot to replicate snow in fun Christmas scenes. Now, to compare the glitter to each other, this first branch I have the clear rock glitter on, and I'm going to pull up that Avriel glitter and just show the dramatic contrast between those two glitters. Very subtle with the rock candy and very flashy with the Avriel. Now that finishes up the Pine Wisps. Let's move on to the Cathedral window. The Cathedral Stencil set has 5 stencils in it. One is a mask, and then the other 4 stencils is to help you make a stained glass look. Each stencil has different window cutouts, making it really easy to ink up those window spots. And then the Cathedral die is 2 pieces. I've already snipped them apart. And with both pieces together, you can die cut the window pane. These stencils are all A2 card size, so it's really easy to cover a card panel. Now I've taped my card panel down to my work surface, and I'm going to tape the first stencil over it. I'm using Distress Oxide inks again, starting with Fossilized Amber. I'm just quickly blending the ink over the stencil, and then I'll remove the stencil and tape the second one down. And you see, I have all of my oxides just out are ready to go. This is actually just such a quick and easy project to do. These stencils are so easy to work with, and yet that they're the same size as an A2 card panel just makes it really easy to line up. I used the top left corner for all 4 stencils as my primary point of when I added the stencils, each stencil to the panel. Barn Door is the red ink that I use, and I'm now using peeled paint. Blueprint Sketch is my last color, and I wanted to use really rich colors since all the stained glass windows that I've seen have been so vibrant. And you can see when I pull this last mask off that these colors are definitely as bright as I wanted them to be when I was picturing the project in my head. I want the cathedral window frame to be gray, so I'm inking a panel of white cardstock with hickory smoke, and then I'm going to die cut that panel with the cathedral die. I'm also going to die cut 2 white window frames so I can stack them for dimension. I'm going to use the outside cathedral die to die cut vellum. The vellum is going to be placed on top of the inked panels, the inked window, and this is going to give me a barrier for the oxide inks. I want to add splattered paint and icy snow, and the vellum's going to keep that the oxide ink safe from getting wet. I'm adding regular glue to the back of a white window frame, and then I'm going to carefully put it over the inks, being careful not to let the glue touch any of the ink spots. Oxide inks can make a mess if they're activated by anything wet, so I don't want the glue to disturb anything. Once the frame is down and set, I'm going to add another layer of glue to the top of the window frame. Now, once I'm done adding the glue this time, I'm going to top it with the vellum. And the vellum, even though, yes, the glue is going to show, I'm going to top the vellum with the last 2 frames. And that's going to hide any glue spots that is on the vellum. The vellum did take away some of the vibrancy I was trying to achieve using the oxide inks, but in return added a really pretty softness to the scene, which I love. The frosted glass look is perfect for winter cards, and now I'm looking forward to making like a holiday shaker card, maybe an outdoor evening snow scene. I think that would be lovely. I'm finishing up the window by gluing on the last two window frames, and then it's going to be time for some paint splatter. I'm using Copic Opaque White for my splatter. I have a paintbrush that's dedicated only for white paint, and that's what I'm using to splatter with. I did wet the brush first with clean water, and then I dipped it into the bottle to pick up some color. I tapped the brush softly just to get a small splatter around the panel, and I'll keep doing this until I'm happy with the snowy look, and then I set the panel aside for a few minutes just to let the paint dry. To really get the icy snow look, I am going to finish the window frame with Nouveau Crystal Glaze and rock candy glitter. Now the crystal glaze is a clear glaze you can put onto paper, or in this case vellum, and once dry it's super shiny. So today I'm using it to make a shiny surface, and I'm using it as an adhesive. So I'm adding most of the glaze to the bottom left corner of each panel, and then I'm going up a little bit and then to the right. So I want the glitter, when I pour the glitter onto the panel, I want it to look like snowdrifts in the corners. So I poured the rock candy glitter over the glaze, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. When it's time, I will lift the panel up and gently tap off the excess glitter, and now there is just this beautiful snowy window frame. I love it. While I had that panel set aside to dry, I made the card front that will fit around the window. So I die cut an opening with the outside Cathedral die, and then I used the brick layer dies to die cut brick openings. I played around with different positions, and I ran the panel through my die cut machine a few times. I used a paper piercer to poke out all of the small pieces, and I just continued to die cut the bricks until I liked the way it looked. This was the first time that I've used the brick layer dies, and I love that they're uneven. The bricks are uneven. It just looks more realistic. This die set did come out, I think a year ago. So it was just something that I've always had in the back of my head to use. I just never had a project to use it on yet. So this was perfect for the window scene. I did add the panel around the window frame with thin foam squares, and just to give a little bit more texture to the white card front, I used my regular glue and just added a couple lines of glue underneath the brick, kind of like where the grout is, and then poured glitter onto the glue so there's even more glitter on the card. When I said earlier about glittering up Christmas projects, I really meant it. This card is so sparkly, and my goodness, it was so fun to make. All right, so the last product to share today is the Opposites Attract Holiday Stamp Set. This stamp set has coordinating dies, two coordinating die sets that are sold separately. One's for the larger words and the other is for the script words. And you can mix and match the words and scripts, giving you lots of different Christmas or holiday sentiments to use. I love these two fonts used together. That cursive script is just so elegant, and I want to use it on everything. I picked Merry Christmas, just a very simple sentiment for this card, and I stamped and die cut the words off screen, and I'm going to pop them up on the card with foam squares. I made sure to add the foam squares on the parts of the back of the words that weren't going to touch the window frame, so the words sat evenly on the card. And then to finish it up, I tucked a Pine Wisp behind the Mary, and I used a little bit of glue to hold it in place. And that finishes the card. To learn more about this release, be sure to stop by the Greetery blog for full details on each product. I want to thank the Greetery for letting me stop by today, and thank you for joining me. If you liked what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more projects from the Greetery, be sure to subscribe. That's all that I have for today. I want to thank you again for stopping by. Take care, friends.